right. So welcome, Richard. I am so excited to chat with you today and hear more about becoming more
Oh, thank you.
because quantum touch has just brought so much healing and I don't know if I want to use opportunity, but just awareness in my life that I didn't even know I was missing. And I've used it in so many ways. And I think we've spoken before at the self-created health workshop that you had run online. And that really helped me with my fertility and getting pregnant. And that was when I was really like, okay, there is something to this work because somehow uncovering emotions and anger that I've been holding on to. As soon as I released that, the next month I got my period, and 2 months after that, I got pregnant. And right, there's something to it. And I heard your interview with Gustavo where you talked about becoming more. And that was when a lot of what you said resonated with what I was already starting to understand, which I thought was fascinating. I would love if you could explain a bit more about becoming more, and then we can talk about that.
If you recall the level 2 quantum touch workshop, that's when I discussed the possibility of sharing gifts with each other energetically. And it's a nice story. Maybe I'll give you the very short version of it. But the short version was that my friend told me she had a photographic memory. I was just goofing around. So why don't you give me your memory, since I struggled in college, and she just knew answers to tests, wrote everything down. So she kind of pretends she's putting her memory inside my head. And I didn't notice anything, of course, but as I'm going to sleep that night, I'm starting to see friends that I hadn't seen before. Like, I just thought about a friend, suddenly see their face with the name spelled in gold letters, but my body was racked in fear. Like, what is this? When I asked her, I said, well, when you think about people you haven't seen in a while, you suddenly see their face right in front of you with the name spelled in gold letters. And she said, how did you know? Now, that's not a question I ask anybody, but I said, you carry a lot of fear. Oh, you have no idea. I mean, it took me like an hour to go to sleep. I was so nervous. And it wasn't even a scary experience. So I knew it was possible for us to share states of consciousness with each other. I'd also done work with Dr. Norman Shealy showing that I could meditate inside someone else's brain. And I could bring central brain delta tripled in amplitude in the first 5 minutes I was working, and then bring it down so low to such a quiet level that Norm Shealy thought, if he had only seen that 5-minute frame, that he might have thought the guy was brain dead. And so I knew these things were possible, and I'd been searching for about 13 years to say, well, how can we actually do it? Now, I taught it in the workshop as kind of like an interesting sideline to the work, like, okay, I know this is real, but let's try this and try that. But nothing was really working. And then a few years ago, when I was living in Tulum, Mexico, I'm in San Miguel now, which is just lovely. I was trying to figure out how we can do this. And I was working with friends, and we tried, nothing was working. And it took me all these years, and I finally figured it out. And this is what I'm going to call my most joyous discovery, because it lets us tap into the deeper levels of joy, gratitude, and love. By understanding what I'll call the spiritual anatomy, and understanding how we can actually receive the gift, then we're able to feel it. Now, when you think about how many qualities of love there are, we don't have language for this. We just say love is love. But the truth is we know about the chakra system, and every chakra has different energies to it. And I was talking to a man today, and he's really good at providing safety, security, money, just great place to live for his family. And he's very proud of that, but he's giving first chakra love. Second chakra love is pleasure. Oh, I just want you to have the most pleasure imaginable in your life. I just really want to be there for you that way. But how many flavors of each of the chakras and the qualities of love? Because there's the emotional expression love, and the adoration love, and the communication, and the wisdom, and the connection to source, and spiritual love. So let's say there's 1,000 different flavors of love. What I've discovered is just like the sense of flowers. Can you tell me what's the difference between a rose and a jasmine? Can you put it in words? No, of course not, because it's nonverbal. It's not a verbal thing. And when we receive the energies of these different gifts, talents, special abilities, freer beliefs, qualities of love, you don't get it as a thought. You get it as a feeling, as a sensation, as an impression, as like, as an opening. And it is so transformational. I would say since I discovered this, I'm 5 or 10 times happier, maybe more. The amount of time each day I spend in high levels of intense gratitude and joy is incomparable to where I was before. And beyond that, it's like, I think this is going to open the doors to new human abilities and things that we want to do, like reverse aging, and to be able to have special abilities or to accelerate the healing processes or anything else that seems really important to us. I think this is going to open the door to these things. So this is the beginning of a whole new evolution of spiritual growth.
Yeah. And like you were talking about that, I was starting to notice hints of that. And let me know if this is, I always try and take what you're saying and then make it usable in my life.
Good.
And the way I've noticed running the energy and using the quantum touch method kind of evolved in the last couple of months is it's almost like I would entrain to different people. So say and this came up, I'll use this one example because it kind of just shows beautifully, and then let me know what you think. There was a gentleman who had reached out to Quantum Touch, and he was an eye surgeon, and he wanted to develop this work with his work. And I don't work with eyes. My specialty would be women's health and emotion. So I didn't really want to pursue it. Maybe that wasn't my expertise. Well, sure enough, my next workshop, I have 2 women and they both have eye concerns. So as I'm running the energy, all of a sudden this gentleman who I've never met is there. And it's like he's showing me what to do with the eyes to heal the emotions of these women. And I was just like, whoa.
Yes, we're also connected in ways that we can't understand. And what I'm looking to do in this workshop that will happen in October in Cancun is Jennifer wanted an outline, so I forced myself to create an outline, although I had all the thoughts in my head. And we're going to start with healing the negative ego. We're going to heal the past. We're going to heal as much of the wounding of the infant, the child, the adolescent, the young adult. And we're going to heal all the qualities of negative ego energetically with each other and feel it. And so that it's going to free people up to start doing the really deeper work. And the deeper work is where we're taking all the qualities of love and receiving them to each other. And it doesn't go away. Once you've received it, you can keep tapping in on it indefinitely. We're also going to tap in the special gifts, talents, special abilities. We're going to also tap in on freer beliefs, because there's 3 arenas of our life. There's the health, there's the relationship, and the successes. And most people have like usually 1 or maybe even 2, rarely all 3 working for them. Or maybe, okay, I've got a friend and he's really good at receiving love from his wife. And he's really, 80% health, and he's doing really well, but financially, he's just got a ceiling. So his success cube doesn't go very high, but it's very wide. He has wonderful friends and he feels the depth of his spirituality, but he doesn't let the success cube get tall. The success cube has the depth of spirituality and the width of variety of successes. What happens is this technique is going to heal the negative ego. And this is so significant because everybody gets caught in their ego. It's not a big surprise. And because I had like a 15-year course in metaphysical psychology, I have a little more understanding than most, and understand that negative ego plays 2 significant games. only two, but it gets really complex, but there's only two games. One is self-pity, and the other game is self-importance. Not that I mean to be political, but you know, Donald Trump is a poster child of both, because they'll say I'm the most important person in the world and people don't appreciate me good enough. So we're playing I'm better than, and I'm not getting my fair shake. They robbed me, or whatever he says. So the point of this is that when we tap in on these deeper levels of love, joy, gratitude, and so forth, there's no temptation to go into self-pity. It's not even in the sphere of things you could even think about. And there's no reason to put yourself up higher than anyone else, because that would just seem boring, because you're just already having a good time. So the self-pity is broken down into two categories, and it's really important for people to my cat's saying hello. It's really important for people to understand and appreciate this. The first is the overt self-pity, the whiny person. You can see them coming from a mile away, and you just want to get away. Okay, here's $5, just go away. Okay. The covert self-pity are what I call terrorists. And the covert self-pity, and everybody does this, so it's not like unique, but unappreciated, misunderstood, unfairly treated, overburdened, innocent of wrongdoing, hopeless and helpless, angry at God, just really feeling like, okay, I just can't get it to work. And they're doing something else. They're living in what I've just made up the term recently, their pain body. They're living in pain. And maybe there isn't even a thought of like, oh, well, I'm not appreciated, or I'm hopeless or helpless. I'm just in pain. And I'm walking around with this suffering, internally, energetically suffering. And so this heals that pain, and it's going to let people let go of the past, because it's as much work as many people have done for years. I'm going to work with my child in the adolescence, and I'm going to heal, and I'm going to process in self-created health and all these techniques of the hurt, anger, shame, and guilt, and all that processing stuff. But you don't have any new model to step into. You have a clear, relatively clear memory of the past, but you don't have any memory of a future, and you don't have any new experience to step into. But what
I just want to say I feel that, and about the self-pity, because it's easy for me to get into that, especially as a mom. I like to think I'm the one who does it all, right? And you get into that whole self-pity that the mom's the one that does it all, and what about me, and all of that. And then I remember I'm the one putting myself in the situation. Like, I'm not asking for help. I could ask for help, but I'm not.
It's true.
And now I'm becoming aware of when I can get into that self-pity. And what I just realized yesterday is I continue to put myself into these patterns because I don't know what it would look like if I wasn't. Like you said, I don't know what would my day look like if I didn't self-pity.
Exactly.
Like, what would my day look like if I had help?
Or if you just felt so much joy, there was no room for the self-pity, and maybe you'd allow the help to come in. So what I'm discovering is, and I never understood this, and I would hear the ideas that you feel you have to manipulate or control the reality. You have to like make it happen, and you can't learn how to receive or trust or allow. And I didn't really understand that, because what am I controlling? I don't feel like I'm talking to anybody or trying to control anything, but that's not what the control was. And I didn't really understand this till really recently. The control is that I feel like I have to do something to make it work. That I can't just be happy and trust that life will open up for me. I have to try to figure it out, come up with a strategy, a plan. I have to kind of work out A, B, C, and D, and, just kind of, do the walk the walk, or whatever it is, to make it happen. I have to find somebody to help me. I got to figure this out, But wait a second. What if I just live in joy? And I have no idea how it's going to work out, but here's what I do know. Law of attraction is real. It's been taught backwards, as you know from my work, but it's still real. And if you're holding a vibration of joy and gratitude, resonance and entrainment, quantum touch, if you're holding joy and gratitude, the reality will have to match that joy and gratitude. And the reality will have to figure it out, because just like body and spiritual intelligence, you don't have to know how to fix a migraine headache. You don't have to know how to fix the eyes. It's way beyond our intellect to conceive of such a thing, but the life force energy does it. The spiritual intelligence of the universe does this. And when you're living in an intense joy and gratitude, you don't have to figure it out. You can let this be your new vibration. Now, I want to point out that the system is not perfect, that I've had a lot of days since I've learned this where I'd start the day kind of grumpy or grinding. And then the weirdest things have been happening is that, like, it'll suddenly be like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'll just put something in a wastebasket or turn on a faucet, and all of a sudden I feel overwhelming gratitude. Like, what? That never happened to me before. And then I had a period of about 5 days where I just couldn't quite pop into the depth of gratitude again. And I ran into one of my friends who, well, this is a great story. I'll backtrack to it for a second. We were at a party, and I was feeling antisocial. I was tired. I didn't really want to be there very much. And after about 2.5 hours, and I wasn't connecting with people, I thought maybe I should go. But I ran into my friend, and he's a distant healer person. And I showed him how to do the breathing and the heart energy stuff. And I said, can I have a taste of your energy for a minute or so? And I told him how to work with my spiritual anatomy that I work with. And after like a minute or less, maybe 45 seconds, I'm going, oh my God, what was that? And I slap his shoulder with my hand. I felt like I had 3 grams of mushrooms. I was high. I was excited. I was extroverted. My energy had come back.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible. And so what's happened was I was feeling this funk, and I ran into him again. I asked him, hey, can you give me a taste of the energy? He said, sure. And popped right out of it. So one of the exciting things I'm planning to do at the workshop, this is going to be the most incredible gift, is that as people are connecting with each other and sharing with each other, I'm going to encourage them, when you feel you have a connection with somebody and it's mutual and you want to do this, exchange photos and emails or whatever, and agree to send them, 5 minutes a week of energy. And let's do it for a couple months or 3 months, whatever. It's not a big commitment. Maybe you got 6 or 7 people, and you print out their pictures and you see them. Oh, I'm just going to all send you love, and I'm going to give you. Everybody's going to hold each other up, because I can lose it still, because I'm still kind of coming in and out of the state. But I'll tell you, I have days now where I'm in that intense gratitude pretty much. Well, I'd say maybe not in it 1 hour a day or 2 hours. That was never like me before. This is a whole new experience of holding the space. And I'm starting to attract, I'm thinking, okay, I just put out something recently. I said, I'd really love to connect with somebody who is trustworthy, thinking about creating an AI program for deep insights. And I wonder how I'd find somebody. And all of a sudden, a couple of people who are AI programmers are kind of finding their way into my reality. And I'm thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, and then things are just opening in different kinds of ways where it's totally surprising.
I think a key to how you do that is the playfulness, like the curiosity, the what if, like no pressure, right? It's just, let's just see what happens.
Well, that's part of it. You see, if you've let go of all of the suffering and the self-pity vibration, and there's no need for self-importance, what happens is the reality is going to have to entrain to you, and the joy is clearly there. So you're going to have to find, the reality is you have to figure out a way to make you more joyful, because it's going to give you whatever you're putting out energetically. Now, here's another interesting thought that I'm just totally delighted by. The Indian yogis will spend thousands of hours doing asanas, pranayama, they'll do mudras, they'll do meditations, they'll do all kinds of exercise. They'll give up the world, they'll hold themselves in strange postures for, months on end, and but why? Because they're trying to overcome the ego.
Mm.
So you can either do it through suffering or you can do it through joy.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's my new thought. And the thought is, what if we get people who give up their negative ego because they're just feeling so much love and joy? They've been so filled with dozens or hundreds of qualities of love you're not even familiar with. And maybe you can only let 2% in today, but maybe tomorrow 5%. And you keep letting more and more of all these flavors of love that you know nothing about, or maybe just had a little hint of before. And you're feeling all this joy and gratitude, and there's no need for negative ego. Maybe the yogic powers of slowing, reversing, aging, of all-knowingness, of teleportation, of breatharianism, or whatever it is, will become available. And it's just my belief that it's probably true. I can't say it's true yet, but I really suspect some people at the workshop are going to start having these experiences, and it's just going to fill them. But here's the other thing, is that they say, they call them cities in yogic, siddhis, not cities. The cities, avoid the cities, they say, because it'll build your ego. Oh, I'm important because I can, hold my breath for 10 minutes or whatever it is that the city is. But when you're coming from deep joy and gratitude, it's just frosting. It isn't the cake. It's not like, well, I'm better than you. No, it's just, it's interesting. Look, I can think of myself over there and move my body there, and I can bring it back here. I can teleport myself to this side of the couch or that side of the couch, or this side of the bed or that side of the bed. And it's another level of freedom, because joy and gratitude are levels of freedom. And when we connect with these higher levels of freedom, it's only natural that we will have abilities, or we'll just emotionally experience it. But whatever way, it's an adventure. And so I'm so excited to be offering this for the first time.
And I think collectively feeling into those elevated states and feeling that joy, once you feel it for not even just a session, right, for a minute or so, you start to realize that feels so much better than the self-pity. And it almost gets to the point where it's like you no longer feel the need to do the self-pity because the joy just feels so much better. So I can see when I go into that self-pity, and then I'm just like, oh, this is just exhausting. And I catch myself.
It's an old story, and you told it so many times, and the pages of the script are all dog-eared and frayed, and not that story again, but it's familiar. And so I go back and mom did it, or what dad did it. And so it's an old familiar script. And as we come out of that script, we can start to connect. And so one of the things that I teach, and this is like one of the most important parts of the workshop, is how do you receive it? How do you receive it? And can you let it in a little more? Now, some people, like I had one friend shared with me some energy that's just so dear to him. And I think I'm probably able to receive about 2 or 3% of it. It's outside of my sphere of experience. I'm not good at it, but maybe now I'm letting in 5%. See? And as I keep practicing, I keep letting in more, my heart's opening more, my joy is increasing. And so one of the big things that's going to happen, we're going to have these like 3 and 5 minute meditations all throughout the workshop where you're connecting with something amazing. So, okay, give yourself 3 minutes. Let yourself be flooded with this. We're not going to bore people with an hour meditation. We're just going to do these short, like let it in, let it in, let it in kind of experiences. And so we're going to take people out of their funk at the beginning, and then go into deeper and deeper levels of joy throughout the workshop. And
I love that it's about receiving. And I find I'm just like laughing to myself in my head because a couple months ago, I kind of became aware of the self-pity that I would hold as a mom and about how I need more help or whatever the
Yeah.
story was. And then it kind of came into my attention, maybe I should just receive it. And
Mhm.
then I was like, of course I'm receiving all the help I can get because I
Yeah.
want help. But then I challenged myself to receive. And I realized that a friend had offered me a hotel night. And I was like, no, 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 I couldn't take that. And
Yeah.
another friend had offered to bring snacks for a play date. And I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, I couldn't. And I was like, wait a minute. I am being offered all of this beautiful stuff. And I
Yes.
wouldn't let myself receive it. And then I was like, oh, what else am I not allowing myself to receive?
Exactly. And
And
that's
then
that's
that's just
that's
become
it.
my like, what else? Yeah, what am I not receiving? And can I allow myself to receive? But that almost had to be a conscious decision in itself.
Well, that's the thing, is that I need help. I need help. How dare you offer me help? And so there's that push pull.
Yeah.
Oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to get help? Oh, no, you can't give me anything. And so I need to receive, but I won't let myself receive. So you get in that
Mm-hmm.
tangle.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that most excites me about this workshop is I'm going to fully participate. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
drink up everybody's love and I'm going to gush to everybody what I can give, but we're
Mm-hmm.
all going to lift each other simultaneously
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's connected. And then think about it. What I remember I was when I was in Tulum, Mexico, I was talking about people's gifts a lot because I was really working on this. I couldn't quite figure it out, but I was able to discern many people, what is your gift? And this one guy, Adrian, he worked at this hotel and we became really good friends. He was just behind the counter. These ordinary people in Mexico are saints. They're just so beautiful. And okay, he's just a hotel worker. No, he's not. He's like one of the most loving, giving people I've ever met in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And as I worked with him, he had no idea what his gift was. His gift was that he knows how to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to really be happy. I mean, like almost all the time. He can just gush joy and happiness. Well, that's an incredible gift. But he
Mm-hmm.
didn't see it that way because that's just normal. That's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But no, for other people, that's like extraordinary. So, what we're going to do is we're going to help people identify what their gifts are,
Mm-hmm.
what their special is. What,
Like you said that, it reminded me of a story. So Gustavo always talks about running energy into relationships. And that
nice.
kind of inspired me to run energy into my marriage and into my husband.
Yes.
And I mean, there's almost two-part stories. Whenever I do that, we get into an argument. And it's because we become aware of whatever that issue was that we've just
Yes.
been letting go. Anyways, now we have to go and get an oil change. And I don't like doing any of the mechanic stuff. So I run the energy to it that I'm going to have a great experience. So I drive the car in, and the guy tells me to stop, come a little further, stop, come so that it's aligned
Yeah.
properly. And then he kind of looks and he's like, reverse. So I reverse. And then he's like, oh, you're driving a standard. And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're the second white woman I've seen to drive a standard, and I can't figure you out. No one drives standard anymore. And then we just got into this whole conversation. And I told him about why I was driving standard. So my husband had a standard car when we met. Once we had a kid, I didn't feel safe driving it. So I made him get rid of it. It was his baby. He really missed it. I saw that. So the next time we had to buy a car, I was like, no, we'll buy standard. I will learn how to drive it. And sure enough, I learned. It was just fine. We love driving this car. We almost fight over who gets to drive the car if we have to go out. And then this gentleman at the oil change, he like looks at me and he's like, you know, that tells me a lot about your relationship, and you and your husband really love each other. And I was like, what do you mean? And then he's like, your husband sold the car because he loved you, and you bought it back because you loved him. And
Yes.
he's like telling me, now this leads into competition. There's good competition and bad competition. And I had the most beautiful conversation with this gentleman doing my oil change. We were spending like 30 minutes talking about love and competition and relationships. And it was like the most beautiful conversation I had all week. But
So you ran the energy into the oil change as being a really
Yeah.
positive experience.
Yeah.
And it was a spectacular experience.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is this is very significant. And as you recall in my book, Hacking the Law of Attraction, we talk about sending energy into a future and receiving it and becoming changed by it rather than trying to make it happen with affirmations or other techniques. Believe you have it and live as if it's true. You just allowed it energetically to come to you. And that's just like a prelude of where we're going to go with all this.
I'm so excited because
Me
I keep
too.
having those experiences. But like you said, when you feel into a funk, so Sunday it was almost like this heaviness, and it was just like, I couldn't figure it out, and I felt almost lost in it. And the next morning I wake up and it was like clear as day. It was like self-doubt. It was almost like I could see this like massive self-doubt. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what I was feeling. But then I
Mhm.
almost had a conscious awareness of it, of like, yeah, I don't need that anymore. Like, and it was gone.
You
And
know,
then I was like, whoa.
and this is another thing about the workshop. I'm going to encourage people, if they're really feeling funky, let yourself feel it with all the intensity. Don't hold back. So I had an experience last week where I'm walking. I do a lot of walking, hours a day of walking. I love going up and down hills and feeling really strong. And I'm walking along, and two people like had their backpack kind of bump into me. And that hadn't happened. It's not a really irritating thing, but well, you didn't see me. And then I'm about to cross this street, and there's this raised area where everybody has to slow down. It's a kind of a crosswalk area. And I make eye contact with this guy, and I'm starting to walk in front of his car, and he starts going forward. So I push against it and pop off the side. Okay, I'm not hurt or anything, not even scared. And I look at him and go, hey, man. He goes, oh, sorry, But I thought, okay. And then I had conversations with three people who were arrogant, condescending, and they were cynical. And I'm thinking, okay, what is the universe telling me? I'm not being seen, and I'm dealing with people who I can't communicate with. And then I started realizing I'm holding a lot of anger about the fact that I've made so many discoveries and the world doesn't see me, and I'm frustrated, and I've got all this stuff and I've been bumped into, and they don't see me, and you want to run me over or whatever. Or I'm talking to people who, and by the way, cynicism is when people are not skeptical of their own skepticism. It's a really good definition. And they just know everything, and they can just be arrogant. And I realized, okay, I'm angry about this. So I gave myself like an hour or two to just like, just to let it out of my system. And then it's gone. I don't feel that energy anymore. People aren't bumping me anymore. But the universe will whisper to us. So there's this wonderful adage that when you learn to listen to the whispers of your reality, you don't have to hear the screams. And the whispers of the reality where I'm invisible, I'm being bumped, and people are being, arrogant or condescending or cynical around me. And what does this mean about me? What am I doing to attract this energetic? And it was so beautiful because I am being given these very clear pictures, but instead of trying to ignore them, I was able to use my emotions and my intellect simultaneously, which is something most people don't learn to do, which is to do all those, you intellect and emotion at the same time, figure out what it is and let myself feel it so I don't have to feel it anymore. And then I can go back into the joy stage again. But you're doing a great thing too by projecting into a future how you want that future to feel. It's called a grappling hook, where if you want to climb to another place, you throw the hook out in front of you, and then it can pull you back into that place. So you're preceding the ground you're going to walk on, or pre-paving the road before you go down the road. You're pre-paving it for yourself.
Well, and I think what you said about learning to feel our emotions, that has been a whole journey in itself for me. Like letting myself be angry, like giving myself the permission to be angry, to feel anger. And the beautiful thing about that, and it was another instructor, Bianca, she was saying about how beautiful she loves anger. And I know you had talked about that in the self-guided health workshop too. And it almost was like hearing you you two talk about the beauty of anger gave me the permission to feel angry.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's fascinating because it's like I just allow myself to observe it. And if I'm being honest, it's a ton of energy and I can get a lot done. Like I could clean, I could put in place the things that are irritating me, or it's really fun to observe that and then use that energy or transform it.
Yeah. The thing, anger is an active emotion. It needs to be expressed and released, or it'll destroy you.
Mhm.
Anger, suppressed anger is the most significant cause of all illness. And when people hold it in, they're destroying themselves. They're also destroying the ones they love, because then they go into martyred states. Now, back to the martyr thing, because if you don't express the anger, you become a martyr, right? You have to, because I'm not unappreciated, misunderstood, hopeless, helpless, can't fix this. I am that energy of martyrdom. But here is the great secret of martyrdom, which is, what is the message the other person is getting? Well, your love doesn't matter. Your love is invaluable. Your love doesn't have any impact at all, because no matter how much you love me, I'm still suffering. And so if you actually think back, who hurt you the most? At any time in your life, it was somebody who gave you the message that your love didn't matter. It's always the thing. No matter how much you loved, how much you gave, how much you cared, how much it doesn't matter. And that's what the martyrs do. And that's terrorism, because that's the most painful thing. So what is the terrorist who throws the bomb into the train station and kills everybody, children and mothers, whatever? Well, they don't care about their impact, because we've been mistreated. We've been unfairly treated. We've been overburdened. We've been innocent. This is justified because of how we've been treated. We're martyrs. And what do they call the people who throw the bombs? They call them martyrs. And they make, in some places in the world, they actually put big posters up celebrating the people who sacrificed themselves and martyred themselves, and killed people in the train station, because we have been so oppressed and harmed that it doesn't matter what we do to harm other people. So whether it's the casual martyrdom of, well, look what you made me do, and feeling unappreciated and unfairly treated, all the way on the spectrum, all the way to the bomb thrower, it's terrorism. Because there's no more painful message than a person can get, is that your love doesn't matter.
So interesting, because I just had this conversation about an hour or so ago with another fellow homeschooling parent, but we were talking about validation and the lengths we will go through to get that validation.
Yes.
But that's really interesting, because maybe there was that message that your love wasn't enough. So now I need to do all of this stuff to prove I'm a good person and get that validation. And I know that's a big theme that's coming up in my own life that I'm working through.
There are psychotherapists whose whole practice is helping a person feel like, I am enough.
Yeah.
It's one of the things we're going to cover in the workshop is, well, who's not feeling like you're enough? Okay, we're going to give you enough. We're going to blast you with so much enough that you just feel the absurdity of it, because you feel enough.
Yeah.
Because it's an energetic. So I told the story on Gustavo's call, and the video we did, which was that the person who helped me find this place, I'm in Mexico here, and she's one of the realtors, and I'm just chatting with her, and she knows nothing of energy healing or meditation or none of this stuff. And we're just chatting, and she says, I just am so nervous all the time, my whole life. And my old approach would have been to say, did you learn that from mom or from dad? Was it fear, anger, shame, or guilt that you were afraid you were going to receive that makes you feel nervous? What are you avoiding? Okay, how do we release that hurt from the child, the adolescent, the young adult? How do we process, release the intensity to go back in time, do this? How do we create a new self-image of ourselves? I didn't say anything like that. I said, can I give you a gift? She said, what do you mean? Well, I'm just going to meditate and do this little thing that we're going to talk about in the workshop. She said, all right. So I meditate for like 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm doing is I'm holding well-being. Everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it in her field. And I said, do you feel anything? She said, yeah. I said, what do you feel? She said, well, I feel all this tingling going down my face and my neck into my chest. And then I said, well, if I gave you a box of chocolate and you don't open the box, did you receive the gift? No. Well, what if you just took one bite and threw the box away? Did you receive it? No. What do you have to do? You have to eat every bite. You got to enjoy every bite in the box. That's how you do it. No. So I said, all right, here's the thing. I gave you this gift and you can let yourself feel it 20, 30, 50 times a day. Just take 10 seconds and let yourself feel it. And she said, like right now? I said, yeah, give yourself 10, 15 seconds and let yourself feel it. She goes, yeah, that feels really good. I said, yeah, this is the gift. You have to now actively receive it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to passively receive it. We have to
Mm-hmm.
actively learn how to receive it. And we do it non-verbally, tactily, physically, sensation-wise in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And I see her like 5 days later. And I say, how's the nervousness? And she says, I'm not really very nervous. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. I can't imagine a psychotherapeutic practice where I'm spending 2.5 minutes with her and her life has changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. But what's going to happen when we have 30 or 50 or 100 people, whatever, come to this event, and we're all giving our deepest love to each other and receiving it and doing it ongoingly? Because all I need is my friend to send me energy for a minute or two, and my whole, it just takes me out of the funk right away. I go, wow, because I do it for myself. And I'll teach you how to send it to yourself also, which is really fantastic. Oh my God, this is a whole new dimension. This is actually my 7th breakthrough in my life, that we can access these states and share gifts with each other is something I just never imagined as possible.
Yes, and I am so excited to learn. I actually booked my flight and I registered for the workshop, and I will be there in October, and I'm so excited to
Well, I'm so excited
meet everyone else who's coming.
I don't know yet, but tell everybody, but I'm excited to experience how you love. You know, it's so interesting. We just don't think about these things. That one of the things about quantum touch, it's so exceptional, is you can actively love somebody you have no interest in having even a friendship or a relationship with. You can spend an hour just loving them energetically and just give and give and give and give and just feel the joy of giving love to somebody you may not even see again or care about emotionally or have a connection with or even want to talk to particularly, but you can still experience the love. What is that? That doesn't even exist culturally. It's not mother to child or a friend or whatever. This is just a different way of being love. Now, what is it going to be to experience dozens of people's love on a very emotionally intimate level without all the agenda of sex or meaning or obligations or, you know, there's so many barriers we put up before we let somebody just adore us, completely adore us without any agenda whatsoever. And
well, just imagine what it would be like if we all approached our relationships like this. Like I went for my oil change. Like if maybe every person, every clerk at a store, I have that connection with, right? All the people in my life. I said it kind of, well, once again, I said it kind of as not a joke, but wouldn't it be cool if I had this connection with everybody in my life?
that's where
What
we're going
would
to
that
start.
feel like?
So we are the pathfinders. We are the ones who are going to create this path where we're experiencing this. And then as more and more people do it, we can create a new program a whole new psychological healing
Mhm.
where maybe it'll only be 25 of us. I don't know what it's going to be, maybe 120, but we got a room if we can handle it. But whatever it is, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal.
Mhm.
But then as we create the morphic resonance of this possibility, then it's going to be easier and easier for other people to come and repeat these morphic energetic patterns
Mhm.
that we are creating.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's what I'm excited about. Like we're just starting on this whole new pathway of possibility.
Mhm. Mhm. And a couple years ago, it would have freaked me out. A couple years ago, we were in the situation where we had to move, and I didn't know where we were going to end up, and
Yeah.
I had so much anxiety about that. But now I'm at the point where I learned about quantum touch 5 years ago. This is the
Okay.
third house since,
All
and
right.
like the idea of moving and change is so exciting for me because I know it's going to bring me to where I need to be. And even just being able to book a flight and go to Mexico on Thanksgiving weekend, because it's Thanksgiving for us Canadians,
Oh,
is
okay.
like something I never would have done, but this is so exciting. And I can see how I was the only one not allowing myself to do stuff like this. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And it's about trusting yourself and trusting life
Mm-hmm.
and not holding the fear or the concerns or the worry, all the intellectual stuff that gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we're going to be at a fabulous resort.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's going to be hot. There'll be swimming pools and ocean. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just going to be a delightful little mini vacation, too.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for meeting with me, Richard, and having this conversation. We will post it so that everyone can enjoy it, and I'll have all the information in the details.
It's perfect. I
Awesome.
really look forward to meeting you. And I really want to experience what you give, too. And I'm so looking forward to experiencing everybody's gifts. Not like I'm just teaching. And by the way, this workshop is going to be about 80 to 85% experiential. It's not like I'm going to be giving out tons of information. It's going to be the upliftment of the experience, not what I say.
Well, and I think that's it. We have so much information. I think we just need to learn how to feel it, right?
Oh, yeah, we're going to
And
learn to
shift.
receive it and be changed. The definition of being loved, by the way, I'll conclude with this, is being changed by love. And this is the epitome of being changed by love. So therefore you are loved because you're going to allow yourself to be changed by the love.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Richard.
Thank you, Thea. This is a real pleasure.